everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you guys are new. Today's video is going to be a palette bingo. I put a poll up on my Instagram to see if you guys wanted to see a palette bingo or a random get ready with me, and you guys voted for this one. So looking at what palette I wanted to use for the palette bingo, I decided to use the Profusion Harvest palette because I feel like this is a really fun fall palette and I'm feeling very fall with it being October 1st when I'm filming this. So I thought that this would just be the perfect palette to use, but stay tuned to the end of this video because I'm going to let you guys vote between two palettes for my next palette bingo video. I thought that that would be fun, but for today we'll be using this one from Profusion. I love this series on my channel because if you're in a little bit of a makeup rut, this can kind of help refresh your own makeup collection without feeling the need to purchase something new. You pick some random shades. I tend to pick 5 and then just make a look with those shades. So I like to use the app Pretty Random. It just picks random numbers. So I've got that pulled up. I have the setting to prevent rerolls turned on. I have no history on here. And then I can, if it'll work, I can just go out here and hit randomize. So it'll give us our numbers. So first up is number 20, which is going to be Nocturnal in the palette, which is the deepest shade in the palette. I'm hoping to get a pretty good variety here. So that's going to be the first shade. Next up is going to be number 11. Ooh, I really like this shade. This one's called Growth. It is also a little bit deeper, but it's more of like a gray toned shimmer shade. It's really pretty. Again, this is a deeper shade, so hopefully we'll get some lighter ones, but it's a really nice shimmer shade. I'm gonna pick 3 more. The way that I do it is that if I need additional shades to the 5 that I draw, I can use those, but I just try to make sure I actually do use the 5 that I draw. Okay, so this one's gonna be the shade called Gather, the second shade in the palette, which is a nice yellow shade. I feel like there's no way to pull shades in this palette that just don't look like a fun fall look, so I'm fine with the shades we've gotten so far. 13, and let's go ahead and get the last shade too. So 13 and 14. Ooh, okay, these are some more dark shades. So 10, 11, 12, so we got 13 and 14. So the shades Fern and Vegetation. Again, these are 2 pretty deep shades, so that's gonna be interesting. All right, so these are the 5 shades that I do have to use in the look, but then I can use more from the palette if I want to. So I am gonna go ahead and do that and start out with the shade that I did not draw, just to go ahead and set the lid down. So I typically would use a shade that's even lighter than this one right here, but I guess I'll just go ahead and use this one, which is called Nurture. It's just the lightest matte shade in the palette. I'm gonna try and use this with a light hand, but I want to put this shade in the crease and bring it up towards the brow bone. And since I got so many deep shades, I actually do want to try and make this a wearable look. Sometimes I think it's fun to really go all out on these palette bingos, but I had some comments when the Natasha Denona I Need a Nude palette came out about how to use deeper shades in like an everyday look. So I want to challenge myself to use these 5 shades and create something that I would feel confident wearing out, that wouldn't feel so bold, even though it would be fun to create a bold look with it. I think that it might just be interesting to challenge myself to do that in this look, since I did draw several deeper shades. I do tend to start out with lighter shades and work my way to deeper shades, but I'm gonna try something different today. And I'm gonna go ahead and pick up the shade Nocturnal on a bit of a smaller, still kind of a fluffy brush, but it is smaller, and I want to pack this on the lash line right on the edge. And then with a brush that doesn't really have anything on it, I'm going to just kind of blend out that deep shade. The shade is really nice and pigmented, which is good if you want to build up some depth. And then I don't want this to come down to the lower lash line, so I'm just wiping that up, and I'll fix the concealer underneath the eye when we finish up the look, but I did want to go ahead and do my face makeup before I started filming today, just so that we could focus on the eye look. So I'm just blending this out again with the same brush. This is just hopefully going to give me some definition near my lash line, but without smoking it up too much at the end of the look, and hopefully it'll make it more wearable too. Okay, now I want to go ahead and go in with a shade called Gather, which is the lightest matte shade that I got from our 5 shades. And then I want to put this all over the lid and into the crease. And I'm going to blend this in with the deeper matte shade that we put on the outer corner. I feel like those actually blend really nicely. This palette is only $10 and the quality is honestly so impressive. Like, that just took the most minimal blending ever, and I feel like it's good to go. Like, I don't really need to blend it much more than that. I am going to blend it closer to the brow bone though, and that's mostly because I did not put an eyeshadow primer on, so you're seeing a little bit of my veining underneath that shade. I'm going to try and just use what's left on my sponge for my face makeup and kind of fix the under eyes where I just had to wipe up the deepest shade. I think that'll work just fine. And then I'm going to run a little bit of that shade called Gather, the yellow shade, also on the lower lash line. Okay, to use this shade Vegetation, I want to pick it up and tap the brush off and run this kind of in between where the yellow shade meets that deepest shade and kind of add a little bit to that. I'm going to go back in with the brush that I picked up the shade Gather with and just blend on top of that, just to kind of tone it down a little bit and keep it where it's still more wearable. I'm going to go ahead and pick up the shade called Growth, which was the kind of main shimmer shade that we picked up. I did have another shade that had a little bit of shimmer to it called Fern, but it's definitely deeper than the shade Growth. I think I might have been calling the yellow one the shade Growth, but that one was Gather. But this one I just kind of want to pat all over the lid. I don't mind if it's, you know, super opaque or not. I don't mind that, but to me this is still like a wearable fall look, and you can just kind of use the shade a little bit less on the lid so that it's still kind of see-through, which is another reason why I brought the shade called Gather all over the lid, just to give it a little bit of a base color. Also, I feel like there might be some more shadows in this video, so please forgive that. I still feel like you guys can see the colors true to how they're looking, but I'm trying to figure out a filming setup to where it doesn't hurt my head so much with the lights in my face, so I'm still playing around with that. But I really like this color combo. So if I didn't have a 5th shade that I really needed to use, I'd probably just leave the look like this, to be honest, because I really do like how it's turned out. But I am going to go and pick up the shade Fern with a flat shader brush. I'm going to spray the brush with some setting spray. This one's the Charlotte Tilbury one. I usually wouldn't use this to spray an eyeshadow, but it's just the one that's right in front of me. And then I want to just pat this on the outer corner, almost like it's a liner. Trying to give this kind of a blended sort of smudged look versus a pretty defined liner look. I just find that's really fun for the fall time. But personally, I would still feel really confident wearing this look out, even though, like, when you look at these shades, I feel like they kind of look a little bit intimidating. At least they did for me, being at deeper shades when I tend to prefer lighter shades, but I'm really happy with that actually. If you wanted to grunge it up a little bit more, I could definitely see that deepening up the lash line or adding a liner into the waterline and tight line would really be nice, but I just kind of want to stick to the 5 shades that we pulled and wear them, make them more wearable like I mentioned. So I'm just going to go ahead and curl the lashes and add mascara. Even though I didn't draw a shade that's like an inner corner highlight, I do want to go ahead and add one. I'm kind of thinking I want to add this one called Harvest Moon. It has various colored flecks in it, but I feel like it would complement the shimmer shade on the lid really nicely. Just want to kind of lightly apply that with a brush. Oh yes. Okay, I actually really like this look. I haven't been creating very colorful looks lately, so this is a lot of fun for me. For mascara, I'm just going to apply this one from Ilia. It's the Limitless Lash Mascara. It's my favorite. Okay, I added some bronzer and blush to finish up the look. I really like how it turned out. I think I'm just going to leave the lip product as is. Right now I just have on the REM Beauty lip oil. This one's in Raspberry Drip. I kind of like it because I feel like it makes the look more wearable. So instead of going with like a really grungy kind of fall lipstick color, I'm just going to keep this on the lips, which is basically like a clear gloss. It does have a tint of pink to it. but I feel like this just kind of makes the whole look a little bit more approachable, more daytime, and more wearable, for me at least. I am a little bit suspicious that this is drying my lips out, by the way, so I can't exactly recommend it. I like the way it feels when you first apply it, but I've been noticing some dry patches on my lips that I wasn't noticing before, so I have it between two products. I'm trying to figure out what's causing it. All right, but that's the finished palette bingo look with this Harvest palette from Profusion. Again, these are the 5 colors that we drew, and then here's the look that we created with it. I'm really happy with how it turned out. I also really love this color on the inner corner as the highlight. I think that it's really, really nice. I tend to reach for the shade here called Communal instead, but that Harvest Moon shade was really pretty on the inner corner. That's what it looks like, but it's got some really pretty flex to it. And I think because I was filming with a little bit of darker, dimmer lighting, you can actually see the sparkle that's in the eyeshadows, and it's really pretty. I love that this is a $10 palette. I think that it's phenomenal. I honestly feel like it performs like some of my best high-end palettes in my collection. I really, really recommend this palette if you don't have it already. It's $10 at Walmart or on Profusion's website at least. I don't know if Walmart's still selling it, but that's it for this palette bingo. And then, like I did say, I'm gonna let you guys vote to see which palette you want to see featured in my next palette bingo video. So the first option is going to be this Rose Quartz palette from Huda Beauty. So if you want to see me use this one, comment Huda or Rose Quartz, anything along those lines. And then the second option is going to be this one from Sydney Grace. So this is the Unbreakable Bond palette from Sydney Grace, of course. So if you want to see me use this one in the next palette bingo video, then comment Unbreakable Bond or Sydney Grace in the comments below. So whichever one you guys vote for the most will be my next palette bingo video. I think either one of these palettes would be really fun to do a palette bingo with, so let me know down below which one you want to see me use. But that's going to be it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know how you would have used these shades on the lid if you had drawn the 5 of these. I hope that you guys enjoyed today's video. If you did, please go ahead and give it a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.